Okay, so we are at 6 o'clock and going to call board meeting number 92 to order. Happy to be at Pemberton Secondary. I can start by acknowledging that we are privileged to meet on unceded and ancestral territories of the Squamish and Saugeen Nations. And with that, we have an amended agenda.
That the amended agenda of this meeting be approved.
Yes, and second for that. You, Melissa. Any objections? Hearing none, and that will continue. There's a couple of active minutes. Recommendation.
That the minutes of the board meeting held on March 13th, 2024 be adopted.
Second.
It's okay. Are there any objections? Seeing and hearing none. One more.
That the summary minutes of the in-camera board meeting held on March 13th, 2024 be adopted.
Thank you,
Second.
April. Thank you, Lisa. Objections? Seeing and hearing, we can continue. So we're at the announcements section. So I don't have much to report out as we had 2 weeks off in the midst of the last since the last meeting. Had a few phone calls with staff. We did agenda setting, and I think that was about it for the last month. But I also know we are about to make up for that little break. So that's all I have for remarks. Any trustee remarks? Cynthia?
I think I would just make a comment that I felt really privileged to be able to go and take a look around Spring Creek and Myrtle Phillip with Trustee Bickford, and to meet with the staff there and hear about all the great things that they're doing at their schools and the great attention to really trying to improve upon the learning outcomes for all of the students in those schools. It was really nice to see everybody in action.
Awesome, thank you. Melissa?
I would just like to say that April and I came to the Pemberton Secondary School school learning plan on Wednesday, and it was excellent. Thank you, Brianne. And everyone there is phenomenal. We appreciate everyone and their hard work. And I would like to call attention to Tanis Ayers for getting her 50-year pin, which was incredible. We had Dave Duncan look into it, and it's the only person in SD 48 so far to reach 50 years. And congratulations to her, and thank you for all of your hard work.
Yeah, that's astounding.
It's so cool.
It is. Hey, any other trustee remarks? No? Hey, then superintendent's remarks.
Yes, I do have a few things to share, some really great opportunities for me to engage in a number of schools and some other things to share. So I'll start by saying that before spring break on March 14th, I was honored to attend the Herring Welcome Ceremony hosted at Totem Hall. And this is a joint Stafford School and Squamish Nation initiative as part of the welcoming of Herring to the region, to the estuary. And I want to share that I observed the amazing work of students from the Burmese, all different grades. They all took different parts, with the youngest students gathering stems that were then bound together to make cedar rope. Oh my goodness. Was that completely off?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. Okay, apologies to the folks online. I learned that my mic was not working, so I'll start again by sharing some of the events I was to attend prior to spring break. I was highlighting my day at Totem Hall with Squamish Nation and the students from Cultural Journeys who were welcoming herring back to the region, back to the waters, and they engage in all kinds of beautiful activities. All kids from all grades were involved, everything from the gathering of cedar to make cedar rope, to the hemlock branches that then get bound together to provide a natural habitat for the spawning or the laying of eggs. And then in terms of keeping the boughs down into the water to ensure that we're just using natural resources. Kids gathered rocks of the right weight and height and bound that with the cedar rope as well, to ensure that over time, anything used in the construction of these nesting grounds would naturally degrade into the environment. So this is based again on time immemorial teachings and learnings of how to have this to ensure there's no negative impact on environment, and what a beautiful sustainable practice that has been brought back. And I would really encourage folks to jump on the Cultural Journeys website, and you can read more all about the ceremony. And on our website under news and events, we also have a short blurb and a link to more information. I will also highlight the Brackendale Elementary PAC, who helped to organize a speaker series this spring for parents. And there are a number of upcoming dates for folks. So this is for everyone. And again, if you go to the Brackendale website, you can find the registration to click on. It's free of charge. The first one on Thursday, April 18th, 7 p.m. to 8:30 is a session on sensory processing and self-regulation. And this one is, oh, my apologies, I've read this wrong. These are actually in person. So folks are still welcome to attend if you want to make the journey. It's open to all, but it is in person, not online. This is in the Brackendale School Library. And then a second session on nurturing resilient children. And this is on Thursday, May 16th, 7 to 8:30 p.m., same location, the library. And again, the information is on the website, but I will share that the presenter is Kelly Clark, who is a pediatric occupational therapist. And in the first session, we'll discuss how sensory processing affects self-regulation in children. The second speaker is Julie Miller, a social worker, clinical counselor, and yoga teacher, who will provide skills to support and build resilience in kids. So if you happen to be around, we invite you to attend. Also back at StatMus, I'm really excited to share that with funding from Feeding Futures, StatMus School launched a food cart outside of the office that brings students, staff, and the school community together. And throughout the day, students are working on making good choices for food, collaborating together about the types of food they want, but also working together to help prepare the food, unpackage the food, take care of waste, learning lots of great skills along the way. I'm supposed to highlight that they're also practicing good manners, so I guess that's important too. And a shout out to Sarah Fleming, the LST teacher at StatMus, who initiated the program. Sarah's new to the district, but comes with a wealth of experience in community food programming. So super excited to have yet another person on staff who has a passion for food security in our system. So thank you for that. And lastly, I'd like to share that over spring break, I had the privilege of joining Reg Craik, who's the executive director of the ARC Foundation. This is the group that helps support SOGI across the province, across Alberta, into other parts of Canada, and now internationally. So Reg invited me and a Burnaby School District principal, Jenny Wong, to join in a webinar with the Canadian Embassy in Seoul, South Korea. So Seoul is the only jurisdiction in South Korea that has now a citywide ordinance protecting LGBTQ folks. And we were invited to share our experiences in supporting SOGI inclusive education in BC. So it was a real honor to get that ask. And I was engaged in presentations, panel discussion, and a Q&A. It was about a 3-hour presentation with about 5 hours of prep, but it was well worth the experience. And it felt made me very proud to be part of this province, but most especially proud to serve in this district, where I know we have such wonderful support for SOGI in our schools. So thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Did anyone have any questions or comments for Chris? Okay, hearing none, then we can move on to Secretary Treasurer's remarks.
Thanks very much. So at the last board meeting, I had mentioned that the province had their budget day. And so in the meantime, the province has provided some more detail on funding that we'll be receiving. So what we recently found out is that in this current school year, we're going to be receiving an additional 188,000 in affordability funding for this school year. And we also found out a little bit more about what we're going to be getting for next year. So in 2024-25 school year, the funding for Feeding Futures, as Chris already mentioned, that we're already working on with that, for next year, $615,622. That's actually a bit of a decrease from last year or this year that we're in. And I think that's tied to our forecast of enrollment decline. So what else? There's going to be new funding next year related to the implementation of Bill 40. And that's to ensure, like, as everyone may recall, Bill 40 ensures that all school districts have an Indigenous Education Council. So we will be receiving $77,750 for that purpose. And we did have some slight increases in per student funding, $290 per student increase, and Indigenous education will see a slight increase of $60 per student. So you'll hear a little bit more about the budget in the May board meeting and also in the June board meeting, but that's just some updates from the last board meeting in March. So just wanted to let everybody aware of that. And next up, just want to mention questions of clarification. Public can send anything to our email address, which is at board@st48.bc.ca. And any questions should be related to board items, and we'll do our best to respond to the questions.
Agenda items.
Yeah, sorry, board agenda items for today. And we'll do our best to respond to any questions at the end of today's meeting. And that's it.
Excellent. Thanks, Danielle. Any questions or comments for Danielle? Okay. Hearing anything, then we can move on. So we don't have any receiving delegations. And we're on to student staff presentations. So it looks like Brianna Alcroft, Chairs of Generations project.
Thank you very much.
And you're
Yeah, so this is Maud Sear. She's one of the parents of one of our students in the school. There were supposed to be 2 students who were coming today, but I think there was a conflict. They weren't sure what time they were going to get back from their mountain biking trip today in North Van. So I think that's why Maud and I are presenting solo. So Maud came to the PAC meeting in May? No, it was May. Yeah, it was May or June, right? She came to our staff meeting or our PAC meeting, and she was presenting really passionately about the Chair of Generations and the idea. So this is an idea that came out of Quebec, and yeah, she presented really passionately to us. And then I connected her to Alexandra Hélène Leblanc, who's one of our French immersion teachers, as well as our leadership teacher. And together they collaborated and supported a group of grade 10 students to do the Chair of Generations. And I'll let her tell you why this is such an important project that the kids have done. Go ahead.
Great. Okay. I have a presentation for visual. Can I present it or just talking? It's fine.
I think just talking.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, so the Chair of Generation is a project that has been going in Quebec. There's 80 municipality now that has this chair in their municipal hall. And it's Mère au Front. It's a movement in Quebec that it's with like a mother and parents, and they are doing things that projects for the environment for a future generation. And this project has been started by the mayor of Quebec City, and he thought that could, you know, we are missing on hearing the voice of children and youth in, you know, whatever subject in the environment or society or community. And yeah, so he had this idea of placing a chair around the table of where the decisions are taking. And the chair will be decorated from the children and youth. You know, like they are, what's the Mère au Front doing is connecting with schools and having volunteer kids and decorate with teams that they are worried about environment. Or here, for example, they did, you know, inclusive community with LGBTQ, you know, First Nation as well. They also did, if my memory is good, trying to remember here what was on the chair, but oh, I have a picture, but I cannot show you. Anyhow, so this is what they do, the Mère au Front in Quebec, and it's really working very well. Apparently, there's a very great effect on elected members. They do orienting their project and decision towards positive impact for the next generations. After hearing that, I was like, let's start it here in BC. I have the energy for doing it. So I connect with the pack of Signal Hill here and the French school in Pemberton, and they were all on board. And I connect with teachers who are interested to get the kids doing it. And we are done already the chair for the municipality of Pemberton. And now there is a chair coming going in the SLRD office, which is in Pemberton. And that's going to be from the little kids. So 2 chairs. So we are like, I don't know, it feels like, it just feels really great that kids have their voice hearing. And also what the mayor told me here is he was looking for a project for connecting more with the kids and the students because what they say it's really important. And this is one of those projects that it's great because they can do updates every year also. So we are calling as like 9 of April, which is the official presentation have been made. That's going to be our date for doing updates with the municipal hall and connecting with them. And also what they've done too is the kids, the students are more engaged future citizens. And now they understand that they have the power of changing. And so which means that the anxiety and co-anxiety is bringing down, hopefully. So yeah, they have a lot to say. I had a meeting with the little kids also for preparing their speech to the elected member today with the French school. And it's crazy how they have lots to say about the concern about the environment. This is Alex, so the teacher who took care of the project. And there was a really great collaboration. So yeah, so I was just explaining what the project is. And yeah, and we've been presenting, and now the chair is around the table now, and all the citizens are aware of it in the school. So yes, I'm hoping that's going to have more schools doing it. And yeah, so, and also finally, I will finish because I know I have a short time, but there's a really amazing guide that it's made from Mère au Front, and it's like super well explain. There's lots of resources if the citizen wants to start it or the school. It's in French, but it's easy to translate, I'm sure. It's really great resource. I've been also did interview with Radio-Canada. Also, they did a vox pop with the kids. It was beautiful. If you're interested, I can send you the link. And yeah, so it's just a wonderful project. Yeah. So
And
any questions?
that was fantastic. I spent quite a bit of time with the girls as they were designing the chair. And I think it was just such a perfect project because we do see in our data that kids are more anxious and apprehensive about climate change in the future. And they're feeling like, what can I do about it? I'm going to be inheriting a really big problem. So this was really good to tackle that, as well as it was evidence of learning and how we are actually really impacting our students. So they had the words community in English, French, and Ukhamiuch down the pillars of the chair down the back. They had the pink shirts for no bullying. They had the orange shirts. And then on the far side, they had the recycling symbol. And then they had some quotes that resonated with them that they've heard throughout the years. And then on the seat of the chair, it was a model of our town. So it was the Lillooet River, as well as Tizil, and then the bridge over the river. So the bridging of communities was also something that was really important to them. So that's why they wanted to have Tizil for sure, and then the bridge between Pemberton and the Chatelaine Nation. So they had all of these different aspects, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So for us, it was evidence of so many pieces of learning that these kids have done in their 11 years of education with us, and then giving them that foresight into the future. And it's authentic. They presented it to the village of Pemberton, and they were just overjoyed. And so it was just a really, really great project. And so I'm really grateful to Maude for spearheading it, and Ms. Ellen LeBlanc for organizing it all. I'm just the person who said, let's tell everyone. That's it. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Can we see it? Do you have it on your laptop? Can you turn it
Absolutely.
around? I was looking on, do you have it on on your website?
No, yeah.
So this
Sorry.
is a great
it's just so new.
picture.
Just
of-
did it.
So this is the mayor and a few students from the leadership club, which is Alex taking care of. Oh, yeah. Does, no, I'm sorry, no, I don't. You want to? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Perfect.
How long did the project take? Like from start to finish? How long were the students working on it? Over several weeks or?
So. October, I think. Yeah, talk about it. And really.
Could you grab a microphone, please? We have people online.
Okay, so yeah, it's really student really involved in different things. So it's our student, they're in leadership. So they did so many other projects at the same time, and they are all in skiing, biking, basketball. So it was hard to make a schedule, but still every Monday after school, they came and they work on the chair, and they finish like to just split the work together, and they respect their deadline. So it was also nice to see them working on a project with some due date and make sure like they needed to respect those deadline. And they were really proud to show their project to Maude at the end. They were a bit nervous. Oh, I hope she's gonna like it. And of course. But yeah, I'm super proud of them. And yeah, the only thing I told to the mayor is that he will still teach to those students for 2 more years because they're in grade 10, and they really give me hope in our world for sure.
And they had a meeting with the mayor. We made it up for just, like to answer questions. And if they have, any question, and the mayor can just like promptly answer it. And it was really beautiful because one of the girls said, I have a problem with like the availability of hygiene projects in the community. There's none. Like it's like we don't know if it's gonna have like a machine gonna be. And the mayor was like, oh, that's a problem. Like, I'm gonna make sure this is. So the week after, there was like all, the community center, it was accessible and everything. So there was like a direct impact, on what. So it was just so beautiful. Yeah, how to see that they do have a power. So
I just love your enthusiasm. It's contagious.
Well, thank you. Great. Perfect. Yeah, and I think that's it. I will just send the email. I'm having a problem with the connection of internet, so
And I'm gonna just add an
I'm
ask, so
sorry.
from PAC, yes?
from PAC.
So I'm hoping we actually have our DPAC meeting on Monday, and I'm
Okay.
wondering,
Yeah.
as your chair, have you shared this with your PAC, not chair, PAC representative for DPAC? Because it'd be lovely to share with other PACs for other communities in case there's a,
Definitely.
right? Let's
So my
let's get
goal
this.
Radio
expanded.
Canada is with like spreading out,
Yes.
but the thing is, it's in the French Radio Canada. For the French. So anything that can help, like if I can do it on Zoom, I have a PowerPoint already ready to explain the project. It's super easy for me to do it. Yeah.
So my ask or suggestion is
Yeah.
at your next PAC meeting
Okay.
to bring it up, and then I think it's Margot is your chair,
Perfect.
and maybe you can bring it to the May.
Yeah.
Perhaps a presentation at the
Yeah.
May PAC meeting, I think would be very, very
Absolutely.
powerful. I can see
Yeah,
other PACs being
definitely.
super excited by this.
Yeah, you
Wonderful.
email me and I will, yeah, it's easy for me to connect. Yeah,
How does it-
perfect.
All right.
How does
That's
it
good,
get
it'll
on-
be
Merci.
pleasure.
how does it
Yeah,
get onto like
busy.
BCSDA highlight?
perfect. Well, thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
Yeah,
Were there
thank
any
you.
other questions or
Yeah, do you have any other
comments or anything?
They won't.
Okay, I'm not seeing any, so thank you very
Perfect.
much. for
You're
coming.
welcome. With pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Melissa, you had a question?
How does it get onto the BCSDA highlight? How do they get their information? That email that
My
they sent?
understanding is the BCSTA highlights are pulled from district
Newspapers?
newspapers, some sites. They make because I don't think I've ever seen a request from
Yeah.
boards to put things forward. I think is it just through media? Yeah.
So we need to get this in the peak. It'll probably be in the peak. And then send a copy of the peak. to them.
Mhm.
Like it's.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Good to see the chair. The chair is beautiful.
Well, as Bree was saying, we'll ensure that it gets on the website.
Yeah.
We'll-
'cause it-
we'll-
Like
we'll
she
share
shared
it
it with
out.
us. Bree shared it with us at the school.
Mhm.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think she just said it wasn't up yet.
Yeah.
But we had a chance to put it up. Great.
Okay, with that then, we can move on. Next up is trustee items. I don't know if there are any. Doesn't look like it. So then we have our board committees. So the committee of the whole met earlier today. And it was fairly short. We reviewed our calendar. We talked about AGM, which we're all, well, several of us are heading tomorrow to begin, and we'll be there till probably Sunday, potentially Sunday. And so we reviewed some of the motions that we'll be discussing at AGM. And then we had a conversation regarding a letter we received from SD 63, which is in Saanich. And this was in respect to low enrollment or growth in the districts, and they've identified a few of us and are asking for support because our funding is related to enrollment, and therefore we receive based on that, but it doesn't account for inflation. So we're put in a compromising position as we are one of the districts with a lower enrollment. So the board passed a motion today to be included with Saanich and sign a letter in support. And other than that, that was it for the committee of the whole, and then there is a motion.
That the minutes of the
April.
committee of the whole meeting held on March 13th, 2024 be accepted.
April, second for that. Thank you, Cynthia. Do they want to call question? Gotta walk me through this, how we proper process.
Yeah. That's great.
But if you call question, then we can vote.
Oh, I'll call the question then.
Thank you.
Yes, okay. I
All
see.
those in favor? I see the two online, so thank you. I'll get the hang of it, Chris, don't worry. Next we have the policy committee met earlier. We had, give me 1 second. Where's the page? Really slow. Okay, yeah, so policy met earlier today. We had a request from a trustee for us to look into granting leave to staff for if they chose to seek election and for public office. So we had just an update on that piece. And then from there, we had an introduction of 3 new policies. And we'll be moving forward with those for impact and public input. 2 of which will be going in the next 60 days, and 1 will be, we'll start that process in September. And I think that was it for that agenda. So I think there might be a motion there.
That the minutes of the policy committee meeting held on March 13th, 2024 be accepted.
April, second for that. Thank you, Lisa. Anybody want to call for? This for me?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'll call the question.
I thought we only called the question when
You-
we wanted the conversation to end.
I think we have to
No,
say
you can,
discussion.
yeah, so just for point of
Can
contact,
you
you,
just vote and then we
you,
can
yes.
talk
Mm.
about that? So
Sorry.
all those in favor? Okay, that's passed. Do you want to explain?
Yeah, so call to question is when you've had discussion and at least
Mhm.
everyone has had the opportunity to speak. Once it goes back to the original person who has the motion, and then you can call to question. If the chair or anyone feels that the debate, the exchange has run its course or gone off enough, but it isn't necessary to do it at every time, just when you're having
Okay,
discussion. So if it's clear that you're ready to make a
we're-
motion, you
like we're
can,
passing a motion accepting minutes?
right, you don't need.
Probably
call
don't need to do it
that.
there.
No.
Yeah,
There, right.
yeah, that's
Okay.
my, that's my,
No, I-
that's my
yeah.
understanding as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
when it's a discussion.
okay, so I'm trying to make sure. We'll talk about this offline.
Sure.
So I get my head around it and I'm
Just
clear.
trying to improve the process. That's all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then moving on to finance committee, we did not meet today. Indigenous Education Council. I think Rachel reported out on the last one. There hasn't been another meeting since, I don't believe. Rachel?
No, the next one's May 6th.
Now, okay, then with that being said, there is a motion or a recommendation there.
That the minutes of the Indigenous Education Council meeting held on January 15th, 2024 be accepted.
Thank you, Melissa. A second for that. Thank you, Cynthia. All those in favor? And that's carried. Public Relations, Community Engagement and Communications Committee, I believe met today. And Celeste, are you reporting out?
Yeah, I can give a brief report. Yeah, so we just met briefly, and Chris, you might have to jump in just to help me with the name of the software that we're using. So because we have a few policies that are coming out for public input, we'll be using
SD48 connects, the same we've used for the last few engagements, such as the budget survey.
Thank you very much. So SD48 connects. And we really appreciate the public's input on the development of these policies. So the survey link will go out via our email channels through each school, and it'll also be posted on our website so that anybody can have input on the policies that we're developing. And we appreciate the time that it takes to read and participate and give us feedback on those policies. But it is important. The 3 policies we'll be discussing later on in this meeting, so I won't go through them now. And that's all that we discussed at the Public Relations Committee meeting.
Hey, thank you. Rachel, did you want to add anything?
No, that covered it. Thanks, Celeste.
Are there any questions, additions? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Doesn't look like we have any business arising. Information items. So Chris, looks like you're up for a French immersion survey.
Right, thank you. Yes, I'm doing this for
Giving me a
Assistant
puzzle,
Scoop.
puzzle.
Lorette.
look
No,
there.
I forgot that, we have, we're engaging in a French immersion, review. So I believe that is still up. And again, it's just an opportunity, for engagement of the public, especially, I mean, it's open to everyone, but we really, really do want to hear from families and students who have gone through the program because, our public is going to help us make potentially decisions and changes and always wanting to get public feedback is always so important. This is a program of choice and it is something that our board chooses to support. But we do need to hear from the public to see how we're doing and where we can improve services for families who choose the program. And I will quickly check unless somebody has it faster than me when that ends. I do apologize. Little caught out. Glad we have good internet. Anybody know offhand? No? All right, I will jump on. Is it? Yes,
Maybe
save me.
while you're looking, no, sorry, but I had a quick question, maybe someone else can answer
Okay.
while you're looking. Where can families go to find the survey? I'm assuming it's on the webpage somewhere.
1 second, I do apologize.
Or did it
I
get
did
sent
ask
out?
for- I believe it was sent out,
Here, it's the
right,
French
to
one.
ensure, to ensure that feedback. Uh, Might have to come back to folks. Because usually I'm on these things.
You
and I'm not
generally are.
today, so I
We'll let this
apologize.
one slide.
Surveys open till Friday.
I- That's right, 11 PM closing.
So this Friday.
Yes, so it's already been,
Look at my email.
distributed through district office directly to all parents on staff. On the 8th of April. So it does close Friday at 11 PM. And our principals of schools that offer French immersion have also been in contact with those students who have taken French immersion to get their direct feedback as well. So we look forward to sharing those results once we have them. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Anything else? Apologies to the board.
Hey,
Maybe that stuff's kicking
your mixture.
It's just cough drops.
in. It's just. They're for-
So next up, partner group feedback.
So would it be helpful if I pull up the document or just
Yeah.
speaking to it? Okay.
I think so. Yeah. Great to share.
Know if you can see it.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the feedback. This is a document we put together with the feedback from the partner group meeting that we had back in February. So basically it's broken down into 5 areas. You can see facilities, transportation, student support programming, learning resources, and then parent, guardian, and community partnerships. So similar to, to what we've done in previous years. And we collated all the results from that meeting and, broke it down based on the feedback we got was. And it's really interesting. I'll start with the facility side that there was some positive comments on the gender neutral washrooms, but there was also on the other side concerns about them. So there's good things and bad things about them. So that was interesting to see. And the same goes for accessibility too, actually, because some sites have more accessibility things like playgrounds and others don't. So you see that coming up too, like certain schools have, you know, accessibility challenges and others don't, so. Or not that they don't, but they have, you know, they may have some better spaces or things working for them. One of the other things that came up was like the infrastructure. Obviously, the buildings are getting old. And they do require painting, so I can update everybody that over spring break, we did have most of Valley Cliff painted. So that's really good. And then as part of AFG, we're also going to be having this summer. I mean, Ian's going to be announcing this probably next month. For the summer, we're having, is it Statmas?
Statmas, yeah.
Statmas painted as well. So we'll be continuing to be painting schools like we did Mount Com last summer. So hopefully, yeah, the exteriors, yeah. So that's really good. And so we're like, a lot of the concerns were around like the schools needed painting. There was some accessibility issues and parking. And a lot of that stuff's going to be addressed through our annual facilities grant, which I believe Ian will be presenting in the May board meeting. So we got to see a little bit more information about what specific projects will be done then. We'll move on to transportation. So for transportation, everybody loves the bus drivers. And I think that everybody's aware that we have had some issues with recruitment in Whistler for bus drivers. So it looks like that is improving at the moment. It looks like we're going to have some extra bus drivers we've recruited. So that's really good. So it looks like that's there's some improvement happening there. And it also was mentioned that there's some concerns about timing of school bells and stuff like that. And we're going to just keep continuing, you know, to work with BC Transit to work with, you know, to try to align their schedules with our bell schedules. So we're always trying to do that. But part of the issue too was like, we didn't have enough drivers in Whistler. So hopefully now that we're able to get drivers, that will line up better. And we'll continue to recruit to those positions.
May I?
Yep.
Just also wanted to highlight in their needs for concerns was student behavior. Just for any folks out there listening, student behavior is of concern as well. So reiterating to your students that code of conduct is on the buses as well. And when entering and exiting.
Yeah, that's on there. Yeah, there's like, this is just my general comment, so you're welcome to.
No, awesome. Just wanted to highlight that one if we have anyone listening.
Okay. Yes, there's a bit more here for student programming. Things going well, seamless days going well. It looks like electives and course selections are going great. Indigenous support teams. We're aware that there's been shortages with EAs, especially up north. But I think there's some shortages all over the district. There's long waits for specialists, so that's difficult. And looks like there's some needs for food security. So we're hoping that this, you know, food feeding futures funds are able to address some of that, but it's really not enough to address, like, have hot meals for everybody every day. It's not enough to cover that across the district, unfortunately. So, but hopefully it helps. And then the district is going to continue to work around staff and student wellness. Just skipping over to the district response here. And we'll just continue to recruit to these positions. EAs and drivers and teachers, all those positions that we need. Right now, the biggest stress on I think across the district is hiring EAs. So.
I'm just going to interject. I actually would say, what we have is we have EAs. We have enough hired folks. What we are lacking in is on call. Okay. So when folks are away, we don't always have enough on call EAs, but we do not have a situation as we had last year in many of our schools where there were postings that were not filled.
Oh,
So I just want to assure the public of that and the board that we have staffing at our schools. What we continue to have as a challenge as most districts do is ensuring that there's coverage when folks are away. We've done a really great job as a district to continue to hire people. However, people are getting sick or choosing not to work every day, which is their choice if they're on call. So we're continually looking to replenish those folks because we recognize, and I want to acknowledge that for so many of our staff, especially our support staff who are there every day supporting the students, that they end up taking on the extra burden when there isn't coverage. And I just want to publicly acknowledge that and my gratitude and thank you to them, but also reminder for their willingness to take care of themselves as well. And that we would always encourage folks to take care of themselves when they're sick and know that the rest of the team will rally around. So I think that's just an important clarification to make.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Sorry if I misspoke there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
just,
Thank you.
well, I know what you were
Yeah.
saying. I just didn't want the public or the
Yeah.
board to misinterpret, because again, our HR department, our principals have done a fantastic job with recruitment. It's really just ensuring that the on-call lists remain robust. Thank you.
And I think we have a pretty robust on the teacher side, right?
On the teacher
Oh.
side, we've done very well lately. We used to have, as folks understood, quite a few issues, especially in the north, with fulfilling on-call work. But the HR department and we did a specific drive for folks for the north, for Whistler and Pemberton, and have been able to hire specifically TOCs for the north, for Pemberton. And that's really made a difference. So really, really proud of those efforts. But it will be ongoing. We know it's an ongoing challenge across the sector.
What about for the Indigenous support workers?
So our Indigenous support workers are on contract with the nations.
Yeah.
And so through their HR, they manage those placements, and we don't have on-call. That's not part of the contract at this moment in time.
So when someone's away, that position's vacant.
Yes.
I suspected that. I
Yes.
just wanted to
Mhm.
say it out loud.
Mhm.
Good question.
Cynthia, you have your hand up?
I'm just curious, because I imagine it's kind of a tricky position to figure out how many people you want to have in on-call positions, because you wouldn't want too many, because then maybe you wouldn't be able to offer enough work, but you don't want too few, because then you end up with not being able to fill a position. And this might be a question for human resources, but is there a formula, or do you just sort of get a good feel for what you need and then?
No, it's an excellent question, and it is based on, we look at trends over time.
Okay.
And we look at pockets of where we have need, where we have, as we call, failure to fill.
Yeah.
But we're for our on-call EA staff, we're definitely not at a saturation point yet. So we're happy to continue to hire on EAs to our district to fill those on-call lists.
Interesting. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next section is learning resources. This is also interesting because some of the things that are working well, it's showing that there are also concerns with them. So it's
Mhm.
probably based on the school site.
Yes.
So for instance, flexible seating options is working well. And then and it's also showing up on the other side as flexible learning spaces. So it probably depends on the school, or depends on who filled out the survey too, however they did that. It's also, if you look at what's going well, a lot of the things there, it's around technology. So obviously the technology is working really well. There are some issues with technology, as you can see, the Chromebooks crashing and stuff, but I think that happens. There's always going to be, technology has its uses, and there's always going to be something that's going wrong with technology as well. We've seen that even just here in our board meetings.
May I interject though?
Yeah, of
And just say, I think I know it's on the the far side and it's not on the screen for the public, but in the district response on the, thank you. Again, to your point of working with individual school sites to work through issues, and we are looking at a financially sustainable model for technology. So while we're very grateful for the influx of monies from the federal and provincial government during COVID, we also want to ensure that we're being fiscally responsible and responsive to the cycles, because we've never offered as many devices to students before. Our original goal was a 2-to-1 for grades 8 through 12, and a 4-to-1 at the elementary level. Now we're very close to 1-to-1 for everyone, which I think we would love to continue to support, but we're looking at different models to ensure that we can continue that or tweak it so that it makes the most sense pedagogically, but also fiscally. So we will be coming to the board at a later date, in a later budget, for some ideas of how we may want to approach that. It's always equity in mind, but we do recognize that it's not necessarily sustainable to continue the path that we're on unless there's more grants from the Ministry of Education. Thank you.
May I?
Go ahead, Lisa.
One thing that was pointed out to me that is still resonating, and I'm trying to figure out how we would find funding for it, is one of the students that I was sat with in both years has commented on the accessibility of textbooks, because as we are in an athletic area, sometimes the technology to do the homework and read the resources isn't available when they're driving, going to meets, or doing whatever it is they're doing after school. And some places don't have the Wi-Fi access, and some families don't have internet connections still. So the thing that resonates in my mind is how to get some current textbooks, because apparently some of the textbooks in the French immersion program particularly may be the older ones, and they don't have the resource to tangibly. There's still some tactile students who the screens are a bit much. So that's percolating in the back of my brain sorry.
I think those would be individual conversations with those schools for those circumstances where a student again has an accessibility or an issue, whether that's related to learning or to their programming. I will say, like many districts, we have moved away from textbooks because they are outdated the moment they're created. That said, for your point about the tactile pieces, there's always the availability, and we want to stress this for families. If folks need printed copies of things, we do make that happen. So that would be ensuring when you're having these conversations with parents or kids, please encourage them to talk to their classroom teacher, their principal, because we absolutely want to support our students in that, and that shouldn't be a barrier. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Cynthia?
Yeah, if I could just mention one thing too that really stood out to me when I looked through this earlier, under functional needs was more keynote speakers in various expertise at schools. And it just stuck out a little bit because I reflected back to when I was a kid and I was in school, and we would have people come do presentations to the entire school. And we just
Sorry, light's gone out. I'm just gonna get up and move.
And I just,
No, it's on a timer.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, it's on a
Let it
timer.
walk around like that for a minute.
Yeah.
Can we plug in the Christmas lights, Chris?
Yeah, let's just plug in the lights, Chris. There you
that's
go.
pretty good. There we go. Oh, that's enough. That's good. We have enough light now.
Hey, you can see me in the camera now. It's been dark.
I know. I noticed you in the dark.
But it's the same at the board office.
Yeah,
I'm the only one in the dark.
because you're sitting at the end of the
Yeah.
table.
Many ways. Okay.
Sorry for that.
Anyway, no, that wasn't your fault. That was just because the lights went out. Anyway, I really enjoyed as a student myself when a keynote speaker would come in and speak to the whole school And then thinking of it like from an adult perspective, like what was it that I liked so much about that? And I think it was that it was something new. Usually the speaker was very good. We had people come in and talk about really important topics of our day and even now, like drunk driving and, you know, just social issues. And if we could maybe find a little sliver of money, perhaps that might be a nice thing to offer to some of the schools and see maybe if that would even help or change some of our results on our surveys of kids feeling connected to their schools.
So I guess on that point, I would say, you know, we're trying to capture lots of voices at these events. I can assure you that at many of our sites, there are lots of community involvement. So
Oh.
again, I wanted to include that because to your point,
Yeah.
we're always open for that and there are our monies for those
Good.
things. So I don't want the word of the public to get the sense that there's no speakers coming to schools. We have lots happening all the time,
Right.
but some more
Some more
than others.
yes.
So we share this with our leadership team as well and all of our principals to also encourage them
Okay,
to do more. There's lots of opportunities to
Great.
bring folks in.
okay.
Thank you.
that's-
No, I
Okay,
appreciate that.
yeah, that's great to hear that,
Yeah.
okay, perfect. Thanks,
Yes,
Chris.
no.
Okay, Melissa, sorry if I'm wrong, but would it be advantageous to encourage the children or the students to talk to the PAC and to the principal and say, hey, like, it would be really great if we had a presentation on drunk driving and see if the PAC funds that or if there's money in the budget for that, but get the kids' voice heard.
Yes, agreed. Yep.
Mhm.
Good idea.
That's something we'll be have been focusing on and we'll be focusing on more next year, especially as we go forward with our strategic plan, is that student voice piece. That's very important to me and the senior team.
Good.
So stay tuned.
That's great.
We continue?
Sure. yeah. And the other thing I think is mentioned a few times here or is that oh yeah. So one of the things on here is the high school Wi-Fi, and I think didn't we just upgrade that recently?
That has been attended to, as far as I understand, both at
Yeah.
Whistler and
Mhm.
Pemberton.
Yes.
So
Oh no, it was
Some of
House
the
Sound. Is it House Sound?
I don't recall, but I
Yeah,
know
okay.
we upped the signal.
Yes. So I
Good
think
reports
that's
from kids.
should be a bit better now.
They'll let me know after hearing this though.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Mhm. Yeah. And then it looks like there was also some things around musical instruments and furniture, equity between schools. Some comments around that. but-
Yeah, and I think again, I'll speak to that. So at the end of the school year, we are looking at school budgets. And principals along with their staff make decisions on what they want to spend the money on, depending on if there's any surplus amounts. And it is true that some schools do end up with a little bit more. And that might be because, again, if they had failure to fill for their TOC costs, some monies do go back to the schools to help defray the extra stress and whatnot. We think that's the least we can do. So it will mean at some time, some schools will have a little bit extra and they will have, you know, some newer equipment, some newer chairs, etc. And then visitors come to the school and say, hey, we would love new chairs. But so I think that we have base that we provide and then just with the ebb and flow. But we have talked as a team about that, just to ensure, again, we're always looking for equity as we go forward. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then the last section is parent, guardian, and community partnerships. So yeah, everybody's very happy with what we talked about, the high school film festival, just the PACs and the community relationships. And then some things to work on, increased work experience for students. Looks like people want more access to elders. Who wouldn't? We all would love to have more access to elders. Like more engagement from PACs. I think some schools are struggling to have enough parents volunteer to be on the PAC. So it'd be nice to see. And some certain schools are looking for more participation there. And, yeah. More food choices, so hopefully we can increase that with our Feeding Futures Fund. You want to mention anything else there, Chris? or-
No, I just really appreciated the comments.
Yeah.
I think it shows engagement from the folks to how we can do better. And I'm really happy to see all those suggestions and where we go moving forward.
Right, and clearer understanding of ministry funding and budget, district budget.
I think.
I'm still learning.
Yes.
Yeah. And I recognize that the public can't always attend board meetings.
Yeah.
When those items are on the agenda. But I would like to remind the public to please check on our website for minutes, for the topics. Because I do appreciate the work done around this table when we do presentations and share. And sometimes the information folks are looking for have actually been shared and covered in detail, or it's on our website, and we would always encourage anyone to contact the board office and myself if they have questions about where to find information. Our website is full of information, and I think sometimes folks are unaware of just how much is there. But again, anytime we can improve communications, I'm always happy to hear that and to do what we can. And I don't mind doing a presentation 1, 2, 3, 4 times if it's important to the public.
Yeah, and then if anybody in the public's interested, we usually do our budget in the May, and the final budget will. The final budget for next year will be in the June Finance Committee meeting, but if you're not able to make it, it's going to be recorded online, so. It's available to anybody. And then the amended budgets usually will have to be done in February, so those. If you're interested in seeing, the presentation on budgets, those are the 2 timelines, the June and the February ones, the Finance Committee meetings. Those are the ones to look for.
Yeah, my takeaway from this comment was more process, like how it works and how, because of some of the questions that come from the public are, especially with certain line items, like why doesn't that all go to my kid?
Right.
And it's instead, so just understanding some of those pieces,
Yeah.
but not necessarily
For sure.
our annual budget. but-
Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
I think we try to do once a year, like a presentation on how that works, right? Usually.
Yeah, often related to learning services. I think
Right.
that's one of the one that comes up a lot. If a
Right.
family has a student with a designation, with some extra grant funding or indigenous, what actually happens to that money? How is it spent to support?
So many of those videos are from BCSTA, when open.
So maybe that's something, just if I may, that's something through the chair.
I could ask if we could put it on our website.
Because they do a very general job in explaining those things and why reinvent the wheel, right?
Yeah, it's already there, and with the more people understand, the better,
Yes.
I find. so.
Okay.
Okay.
Stop share.
Okay, is that a wrap?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions too, we're happy to answer.
Comment, but
Sure.
One quick question. Do you have any additional information about where the very last bullet point under functional needs, expand work experience to grade 9?
Yeah,
What was that?
I've heard
Yeah.
that before, and I think that's excitement for some kids who are ready to go.
Great.
And they'd love to have experiences before waiting for grade 10. And thank you. That actually is an option. And it's just a conversation with your principal and your teacher. And we make it an independent study opportunity as part of the student learning plan. And yeah, thrilled to do that. I will also say that on that note, that dual credit, did I mention this last time? I can't recall. But dual credit programming, which right now is just open for grade 11 and 12, is being looked at the grade 10 level for that same reason. So if you have some kids who are very interested in a subject area, they may be able to get credit for post-secondary as early as grade as grade 10.
Oh,
More to come on that.
Oh, yeah.
I think I was allowed to share that. I'm not sure now, but well, it's out of the bag.
More to come.
More to
More to
come.
come.
TBA.
Yeah.
TBD.
Okay, so if a student talked, if a student said, hey, I'm working, I have a job, can I get credit? Let them know to go talk to the administrator at the school and.
For sure, because we
Tell them
value
what's-
students
tell them
have
what's
different
happening.
experiences
Okay,
and
great.
life, and they may have a job in grade 9, and maybe they don't have it in grade 10 because of
Because of
supporting somebody at
circumstances
home
or
or because of focus on their studies. And
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think we would like to honor that.
Okay,
Work
great.
is work.
Okay, terrific. That's good to know. Thank you.
Hey, any other questions or comments on this for Daniela
Or Chris.
One,
or Chris?
yeah, my one comment was just to remind the public that we do take this seriously. We take your input seriously, and then our role is to ensure that when we talk about next year's budget, that we can see how we've applied some of these items. Everything is not going to get included, of course, because there's only so much that we have, but I know we have that responsibility to show that we're listening to the public, and I want to make sure we're drawing the connection between what our public told us and our partner groups and how that's reflected in next year's budget.
We'll just give that a second.
You know.
Yeah, just kidding. Sorry, I forgot. Sorry.
So
Do we with these, so we see themes that come out of it, we see some things that we can actually do something about. Or identify priorities, do we? Report out later, the things that we did take from the feedback?
Yeah, I mean, we do that when I do the year ahead, but what I can do a better job in is tying them to, because it does help inform.
Mhm.
And we can do a better job of saying, this was something that one of our partner group outcomes and what our response was. Often it's what we already do, but if it's again, for example, food accessibility, we want to ensure that we're reporting out substantively on what we've done with the Feeding Futures monies.
Yeah, but if we can link it
Yes.
to back,
Yeah.
I think. It's part of assessment, right?
And I think when Ian does their AFG as
Yes.
well, he can also, I can ask him to point out the things that came out of the partner group meeting, because there's a lot of stuff that we're doing.
Yes.
With
Oh,
accessibility too,
absolutely.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just so that we can demonstrate the value and and people taking the time.
It's not
To-
just an
to attend.
exercise.
And that we actually do hear you and value your input. But
just make it really expensive.
awesome. Anything else? Anything online, nothing in the room? So then that brings us to, there are some attachments for you to read. The media report and field trips. There's no correspondence. No items for discussion. So that brings us to our policy motion that I mentioned earlier, that the policy had met and we made a recommendation to move these new policies forward for input. And with that, there is a recommendation there. If anyone is prepared to read it.
That the Board of Education grants an approval to send policy 107 anti-racism, policy 108 accessibility, and policy 109 environmental sustainability for the public input process. Public impact process.
April, second for that. Thank you, Cynthia. Further discussion? So all those in favor? And that passed. Carried, so there's one more recommendation there.
That the Board of Education sends policy 107 anti-racism and policy 108 accessibility for the public impact process as soon as possible, and sends policy 109 environmental sustainability for the public impact process in the fall.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was confused for a second. Any further discussion? Yep, Cynthia?
I might just make the comment for anyone who's watching that I really appreciated the conversation that we had around getting to these recommendations during our policy committee meeting, and I think it was commented on earlier I think in this board meeting, but just to reiterate that there was a lot of conversation and a lot of thought put into how we were going to approach these two policies, and that putting them out for impact right now in the manner that we've decided to do so is agreed upon by the whole board and supported by staff, I think, and I think it will be a really successful process.
Thank you, Cynthia.
No problem.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, now looks like everyone, so that's carried. Action items. I did mention this letter previously. And with that, there is a recommendation.
In support of the
board-
letter. I'm gonna let you take it, Lisa.
Oh, okay. I was gonna let you do it and I'll do the last one. Do you want to do it that way?
Okay. In support of the letter from School District 63 dated March 14th, 2024 regarding school districts with low enrollment growth position, that School District 48 agree to add their signature to the letter to the Ministry of Education and Childcare.
Second.
Second by Melissa. Any further discussion? No, Melissa?
Should it say SD 63 and then where it is and SD 48 Sea to Sky?
Thoughts? Because this has already been passed this way in.
I just thought of it because we voted on last year at AGM being called by where we are. Being Sea to Sky instead of just SD 48. I don't know if that applies here.
I think, yes, so thank you, go ahead.
The intent of what we're trying to do here. But when we're communicating about the district through like letterhead and that sort of stuff, that would be the place, but the intent of what we're doing is captured here. And we can probably go on. Same page.
Yep, I agree. I appreciate what you're saying, but I think for the purposes of business, it's fine.
Okay.
But in future, we will endeavor to do that as well.
Yeah.
But it was really about when you're introducing yourself in public with other folks that you do name the place, not just the number,
Okay.
but it wasn't necessarily applying
So
to
more
things like
formal.
motions.
Or-
Yes, but I
yeah.
think it is something we can try to endeavor in writing,
Yeah.
but it's not necessary in order to pass the motion.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. both.
Thank you.
And then if you,
Celeste.
if you open the letter, it does list the district and the
Yeah,
name.
Yeah,
So,
I recognize that.
fair enough. So, any further discussion? No. All those in favor? And that's carried. You don't have any items to be brought out of camera. And that brings us to bylaws. Danielle, you want to speak to this?
Yeah, sure. So last year, the board may recall when we put our minor capital submission in to the ministry. And so what we did get approved for was, I believe, our HVAC upgrades at Statmas, and I think Statmas is the last, I believe they're the last school to have the boiler upgrades, so that's good. Mamquam's getting 950,000 for HVAC upgrades as well. And House Sound Secondary is getting 73,000 for kitchen equipment, and that's we were able to get 100,000 altogether for kitchen equipment, and that's related to support our Feeding Futures Fund. So the rest of it's going to Whistler Secondary for 23,000 for kitchen equipment. So that's like fridges and commercial size fridges and stuff like that. So so that's been approved by the ministry. And then we also we requested 5 school buses, but we got approved for 3. So yeah.
So wait, so when we request 5, we need 5 right now, or do we just like anticipate we
If you ask me, I would say we need 5. Because we
So
have
we're
no
gonna-
spares really, but
Okay,
3 will get us by.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
Kind of my.
yeah, we're functional.
And these are funded by them?
This is funded by them. And one thing that changed this year, which is interesting, is that they didn't give us an amount. I don't know if anyone looked at it says TBD, and that's because basically what the province said to us is like, you guys like get the quote and we'll like reimburse you for however much it costs. So we're still trying to figure out what that means with them, because we do add on some extras to some of our school buses.
I'd be adding on all the extras.
Get the.
Yeah.
But then if we do, and then they say we won't pay for the extras,
Oh.
then we
Yeah.
just don't want to be on the hook for that. So I think we're just, we had 2 extra buses that we had ordered, but we were waiting for the funding. So there's 2 like sitting there waiting for us right now. So as soon as this is passed, I'm going to put the order through. So I'm just waiting for this. So anyways,
Danielle,
I'm looking for support. Yes.
may I just ask a question? Because the paragraph above says the following tables identify major capital projects that are supported to proceed. So are we supported to proceed with our seismic upgrade? Like, I'm waiting for that
Oh.
big one.
No, this is just a minor. This is
Okay,
a minor
so-
capital one. So I actually have
So
a
what
meeting with
they
the ministry next week or in 2 weeks on the major capital.
Yeah, this was
Okay.
not related to the
This
major.
is minor capital.
Then why is there the following table identifies major capital projects that are supported? Why are they, have they
So
just
right
mistyped
now-
that?
No, that they probably, maybe that's an indication that we're not gonna get any. So we'll see. I'm waiting to meet with them in 2 weeks, so.
Okay, because that was
I see.
my little flag in there. Where's my major?
Yeah, that's my guess as well. So we have been told, and I know it may be shared tomorrow at BCSTA. We do know there are immense pressures on the province for those districts that are experiencing exponential growth, where they simply do not have the classrooms for students. So the funding, we know, is that's their priority right now. So I also suspect, and again, we won't know it's official until that meeting that Danielle has, but I saw that table as well and thought, oh, is that already the indicator that we're yet again not approved? Like many districts were the
Like-
last 40% who haven't had approval for seismic upgrade because of the pressure on the system, but we will continue to advocate for that because student safety is very important to us. Mhm.
I saw someone post earlier today if we felt the tremor in Pemberton.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah,
For the record, I did not.
I didn't recognize. I don't know what time that was. I just briefly looked at it. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, well, with that, then we have a recommendation.
Okay, do you want me to take this one?
Sure. We take the
It's the
next one
long
too.
one. You may.
No, this is
that
the
long.
short, this one's.
Oh,
This
this
one's
is
the
a short
short one.
one. Yeah, because there's 2 here.
Yeah, but
There's two
there's
here.
Okay, so I'll take them both if you want. So
Do it.
that the Board of Education unanimously agreed to waive the requirement that first, second, and third reading of School District number 48, Sea to Sky, Capital Plan Bylaw number 2024-25 CPSD 48-01 be given on different dates.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Cynthia, for the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. So that's carried. So next one,
Is that the Board of Education give first, second, and third reading to School District 48 Sea to Sky Capital Project Bylaw number 2024-25 CPSD 48-01 as follows. Whereas in accordance with section 142 of the School Act, the Board of Education of School District 48 Sea to Sky hereinafter called the board, has submitted a capital plan to the Minister of Education and Childcare, thereafter called the Minister. And the minister has approved the capital plan or has approved a capital plan with modifications. Now, therefore, in accordance with section 143 of the School Act, this board has prepared this capital bylaw and agrees to do the following. A, authorize the secretary treasurer to execute a capital project funding arrangement or arrangements related to the capital projects contemplated by the capital plan or the capital plan with modifications. B, upon ministerial approval to proceed, commence the capital projects and proceed diligently and use its best efforts to complete each capital project substantially as directed by the minister. C, observe and comply with any order, regulation, or policy of the minister as may be applicable to the board or the capital projects. And D, maintain proper books of account and other information and documents with respect to the affairs of the capital projects and may be prescribed by the minister. Now, therefore, the board enacts the following. 1, the capital bylaw of the board of the 2024-25 capital plan as approved by the minister to include the supported capital projects specified in the letter addressed to the secretary treasurer and superintendent dated March 15th, 2024 is hereby adopted. 2, this capital bylaw may be cited as school district number 48 Sea to Sky, capital bylaw number 2024-25-CPSD 48-01, read a first time the 17th day of April 2024, read a second time the 17th day of April 2024, and read a third time past the 17th day of April 2024.
And a second for that. Thank you, Melissa.
Repeat it all, Melissa.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, and that's carried. Do we have any questions of clarification from the public?
We do. Okay. I'm not sure if it's exactly related to the board agenda, but there is a question from our QP president, Christina Forsyth. Why are site-based funds not disclosed publicly and only at district level funding? But I think there's she's talking about the school budgets.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Why are site-based funds not disclosed publicly and only district level funding? You know, when we present our budget?
Oh,
So for instance, we wouldn't publish PSS budget?
Yeah.
Oh,
so, I mean, I guess we can talk about budget, so I can take a crack at it, and it's simply because in terms of our requirements for our books, that's the level at which all districts provide their information. We are a decentralized model, so we choose to provide funding directly to schools. But the budget is the budget. It's all from the same pot, and we wouldn't differentiate between schools because that would also potentially show differences in potential pay for your staffing, etc.
Yeah,
So we do it all in general,
Exactly.
right? Like we don't.
Yeah, and I think there may be some confidential stuff in there. Like, for instance, like we don't, like the budgets, we don't share them more broadly because it's like right down to the staff level. You can see like who's all hired and all of that.
So
stuff
for
in there.
instance,
Mhm.
Calhoun would see the one staff person's
That's right.
salary,
Yes.
Blackwater Creek, we'd easily be able to identify. So for some of the smaller sites, so therefore we don't share
Well,
any of
and,
it, or
and you might also even be able to identify students for certain level
For
of funding.
funding.
for needs.
Your leveling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they have designations, so there might be some.
Okay, fair enough. Celeste? And then April.
So The Sophie report will likely have all of our staff, many of our staff.
Many, but not.
Many, but not all.
Anyone
certainly.
over 75,000.
Exactly. Many
lot.
people will have that level of information will be publicly available. I think, in terms of annual reporting, like the time that it would take, even if there weren't these concerns, the time that it would take to report on each individual school. However, all of this is public information. So if anyone is interested in any level of information, you can make a request to see that information. Some of it might need to be redacted for reasons of privacy, specifically with respect to children, but any of this can be accessed. There are processes. Danielle's probably the best person, or the board at sd48.bc.ca if you're interested in figuring out what the process is to access information. But we're a public organization, and none of, it's not a secret. There just may need to be redactions for the purpose of protecting privacy.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Celeste, because if we wanted to go down to that level, that would mean a lot more work for my staff who are already pretty stretched thin. Yeah.
In which case, if there were additional costs associated, we do have that in our freedom of information policy that we can charge for time.
Yes.
April?
I'm sorry, Danielle, I probably should know the answer to this, but when we give out our budget, does it list the bulk amount that goes to each, like the grand total
Yes.
that it does, right? So we do
Yes.
say that what she's asking is what each school does with that bulk amount.
Yes,
Yes.
that's my understanding.
That's my,
Oversight
okay,
fund.
good. And most of it goes to salaries. from what I understand.
80% of our funds go to salaries.
May I?
Okay, so, just a second, Lisa, specific requests then can, because Kashida must be on,
Yeah,
so can go to Danielle.
of course.
It's
Yep.
probably the best approach. Lisa, go ahead.
I'm being of a more fiscal inclined mind. I often did wonder why we don't see like the initial budget for each of the schools and then their year-end budget, like just the start and the end, like the screenshots, the Excel spreadsheet of month one, you're open, and the final month, and see. We go to the site plans and we get to listen and we get to see the overall overarching huge budget. But it is an interesting question to me to see how the jigsaw puzzles fit within the different regions that we're serving. To see models that's one thing is working really well here. Is there spending allocation with the 20% of the funds that the principals have discretion over? Is that making a more impactful difference at one location versus another location? So I find the question kind of fascinating, but also something that my brain would like to know the answer to. Like, if the spendings are different, if one's spending more on one thing than another thing and they're having impactful results, then maybe we need to be looking as a board to augment and support. Maybe one school is spending all of their money on having amazing humans come in and do keynote speaks. I don't know, right? Like what? Anyway, I just leave it there. It is something I'm definitely interested to know, but I wouldn't want to take up too much time if it was easy spreadsheet, first and last, just to get a baseline of what the schools are actually doing with that,
Okay.
to see it contextually.
Okay, thank you. Celeste, did you have something to add?
In the last term, I want to say we spent maybe an hour, Chris, you might remember better, looking, it was an education session for the board. And so some of us have had the benefit of seeing the spreadsheet, and maybe that's something to put, on an agenda for the future.
Thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just to do it again, because
Yeah.
I think that you don't need to see all of them. I think that once you see one example, it's enough to help you understand, Lisa, and that might satiate what it is you're after. I think that you would become very tired if you had to look at all of them all of the time.
And I do that.
Yeah.
So-
Thank you.
Thanks, Celeste. So, this was responding to a question from the public.
And I think we're getting a little, I think it's a great topic and maybe we can have this conversation about it. I think it was more the question of sharing with the public, the individual school budgets. So, again, Danielle, yeah.
I don't know, because it's been a number of years since we've looked at the spreadsheets that we were shown when we had that education session. I wonder if what the person that asked the question is interested less about the actual numbers, but more about the process. And I wonder if there's anything that could be shared publicly about the actual process that might help understanding, not only for us, but for people on the outside who wonder how things are done. Do you understand what I'm getting at,
Ask
Chris?
Christina, the person making the call, who's also our QP president, to send an email to us with more specificity, what they're actually asking for.
Yeah,
So we can
for
get a better
sure,
understanding.
for sure.
Happy to meet
Mhm.
with her, to chat about that.
Yeah. But any person might be curious about how we do our site-based funding models. And so that's sort of what I'm getting at. Like perhaps it could be a person that works here, or it could be any member of the public. It could be a board member, who just is wondering about, it's different here than in other school districts. And there's good reasons why we do things the way we do here, and following the money is important. So I'm not making a request specifically, but just to leave that in your mind as a thought, that if you were thinking about how we might bring all of the board members up to speed, if there was a way to explain any of that at the same time in a public meeting, so that others can have a better understanding of how it is we're funding our schools. Although I recognize that I think we did that in a closed meeting because we were looking at an actual spreadsheet for an actual school, and that might be a challenge. But I just wanted to say that out loud.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then hearing none, it looks like we've completed the business of this agenda, and at 7:32, we are adjourned. Ladies